All right, boys, we're back. It's been a while since we've had us three on
Yeah.
on the pod. We're missing Greggy, but we've got our own Paul Merson back involved
He
here.
brings nothing to the party, young Greg. All right. Bring back fat Greg.
Scotty, thinking about doing this, I didn't know whether to say if you were Merson or McCoist since he's joined
They're
Soccer
both in
Saturday.
terrible nick these days. I'll take either.
Yeah, mate, I didn't know whether it was gonna be Merson or McCoist, but
Nah, I've not got the charismatic ability of either of them.
nah, no. But I've had it. I've had
More
it.
of a
We've had
Quentin
it.
Fortune.
We've had a wee break from each other. I've ventured out and chatted to some other people, but we need to bring it back to the OGs
Yeah.
and get back to the chat. So listen, we're starting with the fucking mighty Gerrards because it's been an unbelievable last 3-4 weeks for them, and there's no better man to chat about them than fucking Scotty here.
I just
So
I want to put out there,
go on.
I'm not a biased hun.
Okay. But you did have the scarf behind you, so that's
Yeah.
fine. Listen, mate, it's so at the end of the day, Rangers have been phenomenal this season in Scotland,
Yeah.
so no one can take that away from you.
Mhm.
So it is what it is.
Right.
It's a topic that we need to conversate on. I've got the Fulham Spurs game on in the background here. One of you's got the Everton game.
No, I can get it on there.
Oh, okay, get the
I'll,
Everton game
I'll
on
get it.
just so
I'll
we
get it
so,
on.
so we know for fact so
Yeah.
we know for fantasy. But aye, let's get it going with Rangers and
Right.
Stevie then, boys. I mean, let's do this, Mathew. Let's start with you. Let's not come from a Rangers fan point of view. Let's start with you. We've talked about it a couple of times on the pod, obviously, but especially in the last month with Europe, and they're literally this weekend away from winning the league title, if not the next. What's your thoughts been on them this season?
They're class, man. They're so good to watch. Like you even saying, like they're just entertaining, and I think is exactly what Rangers needed was just entertaining football. But then on the other side of that as well, like, they don't concede goals as well, which as a league title winning team is when your defense is like, look at Man City right now, and they're not. Everyone's talking about like going forward and that, but like defensively they're solid. So I think Gerrard has got it bang on in every aspect, and honestly they're class to watch right now.
What for you, Mathew, for Gerrard or for the team as a whole? Like, what for you stood out the most? Do you think when you've watched them?
Uh, I don't. I more think it's like his man management and players, and he seems to just made. I think he's done what good managers do. He seems to have made everyone like twice as better as they were kind of like perceived as. You know what I mean? Like you look at Glenn Kamara coming in, absolute nailing it. He's class in midfield, by the way. Like, I think he's just, to me, it just seems like he's giving everyone that little bit more confidence, and every single one of them up their game, and he's allowed them to take everyone's game to the next level. And then tactically, I think like the 4-3-3 formation really suits them. I think it's so common to give your front three freedom these days. And I've seen that especially in the Europa League game when it was a away leg, and I've seen the front three. I think it was Morelos.
Adrian Kent was it?
Nah, it was Aribo. Aribo played there.
He did, yeah.
And who was the other one? Anyway, like just so much freedom in the front three. Like sometimes Morelos would play as like a right winger and tuck in after defensive work. Sometimes he'd play as a striker, which I'm sure is most comfortable. But it just seems like everyone's willing to sacrifice that, and I just think tactically with that, like giving your front three freedom right now, just seems to be the thing to do. And I think he's nailed that on.
Do you, before we come at you, Scotty, do you, Mathew, kind of two questions in one. A, have you been surprised at how well, he's done there with it being so early in his career? And B, do you see it being like a one-off? I don't mean in terms of how they perform this season, and we'll get to that because I think that, it's very, very difficult to keep doing what they're doing this season. But do you think it's a one-off, and have you been surprised?
Nah, I don't think it's a one-off. I think it's really difficult because when you're Gerrard and Rangers, all you have to do is beat Celtic and that's it. And then when Celtic are in complete downfall right now, it 100% helps. But I think if you look at the progression that they've made over the years, I think that's really, really, really beneficial. And it's I don't know, it's a difficult question, but I think next season will be really interesting. God knows what's going to happen at Celtic.
Yeah.
Can Rangers, because to then go and do it again with a title, you know how difficult that is. Not a lot of teams can do that. But it'll be really interesting to see.
Right, Scotty, let's go from an overall point of view, right? From thinking back to when the whole time you've supported them, right? If you can think back to all those times.
2015.
Whenever it was, 2019.
2020.
This season.
The club only formed in 2012.
Yeah, apparently so. But if you could, can you explain from a fan point of view what you think Gerrard's brought? Because, obviously, the way I see it, the way Mathew sees it, certainly with Gerrard with the Liverpool connection, I hope he's going to do well anyway, right? So, and more than likely, he's probably going to take over Liverpool at some point, which we'll get into. But yeah, well, what have you seen? What's he brought, do you think?
So I was thinking about this in the shower before I came on tonight.
I like the fact that you showed
a lot of ways you can go from here, but the biggest, I think, what Gerrard's brought back to Rangers is he's brought the pride and passion back into what it means to play for a Rangers team, to be a Rangers player and to wear a Rangers strip. I think he's got 22 odd boys in the change room that genuinely know what it takes to play for Rangers. And he's brought that mentality from Liverpool, playing for a massive club himself, playing in massive games. Probably a work ethic as well. He's brought into the whole club. And it just seems like there's so much more pride to play for a Rangers team. I remember the one game that sticks out in my mind is when Kuksina was manager, and I went through on my own. I actually got to trade with Keith Lamb. What a day out that was.
What a day out.
We went to St Johnstone, beat us 3-1 at home. And there was players just as soon as the first goal went in, players were just like hands up in the air, looking at each other. Nobody really cared. It wasn't like, it was acceptable to get beat. But whereas you see Gerrard last night, 0-0, season's pretty much done. All we need is a few points, and he's going absolutely mental at half time because it's only 0-0. There's just little behaviours like that. But then at the same time, Mathew touched on it, the style of football as well. Like every Rangers fan in the world would have taken 1-0 ugly football, 1-0 every game this season if it meant we're stopping 10 in a row and winning that title. But he's done it with such a style of football that every game you watch, I've spoken to so many people, they're like, oh, I'm going to watch Rangers tonight just because of the style they play. They know it's going to be a fast-flowing game. There'll be lots of good goals probably, especially in Europe. And then that excitement as a fan, you wake up in the morning on a match day and you're like, I generally can't wait to watch football tonight. Whereas this season, you watch a Premier League game, as the season's gone on, I've watched less and less games. You're just like, do I want to watch some terrible games of football? But generally, the style of play he's playing generally makes it exciting to watch again.
Do you feel like, from the outside looking in, I think he's created something that hasn't been there at Rangers in a long time for a lot of reasons, but it feels like he's really got the fans back, connected with the team and the club, and you all seem to be singing from the same hymn sheet, so to speak, whatever that saying is. If I got that right, I don't know, but it just feels like he's really brought everyone back together again.
Yeah,
I think that's huge.
100%. I think that, I don't know. Obviously, the results on the pitch show that's why people believe in him. But he comes with a big name. Whereas look at the managers before and Kuksina and they just weren't Rangers managers. They didn't know what it means to play for a big club. They didn't know what it means to live your life as a Rangers manager every single day of your life. Whereas you look at Gerrard, it seems like he never takes a second off. He just seems like the guy, all he thinks about is being a football manager, being a football player, and lives and breathes it. And he knows what it means to play for such a big club.
He's definitely obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Do you think if Rodgers was still, let's say, at Celtic and that, do you reckon?
I mean, that Celtic team under Rodgers was unbelievable.
Good, it was really good.
Playing proper. I just say same as Rangers now, playing proper attacking, free-flowing football. I mean, there'd be some unbelievable Old Firm games, I would think.
It'll be interesting.
So hard to say,
next season, do you reckon Celtic get their shit together and it becomes a proper battle?
Yeah, they've already started to get their shit together a little bit.
They're slowly on the way back, but here comes the biased Rangers fan. I think what Gerrard's set in place since the day he walked in there, he's been building for 2, 3, 4 years down the line. He's not been thinking, right, let's win the season, get over and done with. He's been preparing for the future. You see, he's introduced a style of play. he's bringing in players that know that system, and then he's bringing in even more players. He's already signing players for the future, thinking, right, he knows Stephen Davis isn't going to be there forever. He knows Al McGregor's not going to be there forever. But he's bringing in players that know the style, and he's thinking 2, 3, 4 years ahead, which is also, I think, what makes him such a good manager as well.
Strengthen when you're strong, right?
Yeah.
That was saying. I think that, I didn't expect it to go to be how it's been this season for him at all. We were talking about, like, the drive and stuff he has, and we've talked about a lot about Lampard on, and we had Liam on, and we talked about it. And it's interesting, because two very similar players in terms of playing career. Lampard probably with a lot more honours to his name than Steven Gerrard does as a player. But I don't know, maybe if this is just a Gerrard bias, and I'm happy for someone to comment or send me a message to say it definitely is. But Gerrard always had something a little bit different to Lampard. I don't know what it was. I don't know how to explain it. It may just be his personality, but he just, I don't know, he looks like he loves it. Like, you saw it last night at halftime. Like, he's so invested in it. He loves it. I'm not saying Lampard wasn't. I'm just trying to get my point across. He's so emotionally invested in it. He lives and breathes it. You can't ever see him doing anything else with his life. And what you said, Mathew, is set up in the away game against Antwerp in the first leg. I texted you boys immediately and was like, it reminds me of Liverpool under Benitez in Europe. Instantly, it was like that. I went straight back to that time of like, oh, we're set up quite tactically really well here. And actually, this might not be exciting. It ended up being very exciting, right? But it might not be an exciting game, but it's an away European game. You set up, to maybe go 0-0, nick a goal. 1-0 is not a terrible result away. Like, you can see he's learned a lot. He's taken a lot from the managers he played for, and he's added to that, which is really interesting.
You see that bit on Lampard, I think the difference between it seems like Gerrard's got that massive chip on his shoulder. He's always, people always put him down and say he's never won the league. He's never done this. He's a serial underachiever. But sure, he's one of the best players who's ever played world football. But he seems like he's carried. He just seems like he carries that chip where he's like, I will not stop till I'm dead to prove how good I am. And
the way I see it, Gerrard was in the trenches a lot with Liverpool, right? Like, in bang average teams, trying to fight for whatever it was.
Having
to pull them out in that. And I think Rangers were in a similar situation as a club. It was basically like, we're in the trenches here, but there's Celtic, that are doing this and that. And I just think I think that's why it fits so well.
So, Joe, as a pure Rangers fan point of view, the most satisfying thing is, we talked about in one of the pods, remember that League Cup final? Yeah. Whereas that was when we ended up getting beat 1-0, but we absolutely battered Celtic. That's not even a biased opinion for 90 minutes. And they had Foster in goals, which did the game of his life. But that was the turning point where I was like, wow, that is a totally different. That is Rangers on that pitch. That is a Rangers club, and I've got that photo. It's on my phone. Where is it?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I remember you saying that, like, even though you lost the game, you felt like it was the start of something rather than like, oh shit, we've lost. Yeah,
and to see how they've trusted Gerrard, they kept the faith in him, and then to see it's the exact same style of football. He's just stuck with it, trusted his process, got some players, as Mathew said, he's turned some players into a lot better players. Man management. And you look at the midfield. That's Gerrard's doing. Yeah, 100%. And you made Ryan Jack. Glenn Kamara's.
Yeah, he's definitely. I agree with you guys. He looks like a man that's got a real. Always has done. Even as players. Some just this like crazy drive to him that you're like, God. You everyone kind of looks at and wishes they had it in whatever they're doing. Right?
It's never satisfied.
Never satisfied. Like pure passion for it. All that stuff, and again, I'm not saying that other guys at Lampard and that don't have that. Of course they do, but
what's so cool about this? You've seen Gerrard grow as a manager as well on that journey from the remember he celebrated the Old Firm game when we beat them, went absolutely mental. Yeah, and it all went horribly wrong from there. It's not as if he's been this unbelievable successful manager. It's been like there's been so many lows under Gerrard as well. That's what makes it so much more enjoyable when you do win it.
Do you know what else is really interesting? You'll maybe be able to give a little bit more on the backstory of it because, me and Mathew have only been back here this year, but, his patience with Morelos and dealing with him and kind of showing the faith in him, I think you can see in Morelos the gratefulness for that in a way. Oh. And I think, last night when everything's going for you, Gerrard obviously gets sent off for Morelos, definitely not diving. I mean, he clearly got touched. Yeah. Whether it's a penalty or not, you can debate about it if you got touched like that, but it's definitely not a dive. but then Morelos goes and scores the goal to win the
Yeah.
game. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, that just pays even more dividends. And then Morelos...
different manager, that Morelos isn't scoring that. And under a different manager, I
Yeah.
think Morelos is getting sent off second half.
Yeah.
I think Gerrard knows that he's a fucking... You need someone like him in your team.
Oh,
I think
100%.
Gerrard's played with plenty of people like that, and Gerrard's like, I just have to learn to put up with it. I'm not going to try and change it. Like, but I need people like him on my team right now for what I win league.
He's
title.
dealt with Morelos.
He's a
unbelievable.
winner.
Like he's known when to discipline him. He's known when to drop him. At one point when Morelos was worth 20 million, then you had that spell where he was absolutely terrible. But Gerrard disciplined him, kept him on the bench for a few games, brought him in. It just managed him so well and it's worked out perfect. Now Morelos is having the run of his life.
Singing Sweet Caroline with his
he's
top off.
He's in the change room with his top off and the Tony Macaroni. How many boys can say they've done that?
Okay, that's one of the best after game manager interviews I've seen in a long time, potentially ever. It was fucking brilliant last night. Two of
the best interviews as well. David Martindale's interview was class.
Yeah, I like him, man.
Great, honest guy. Just says how it is and seems like a man of the people, which you don't seem to get in football these days. They're so dry and they say what's politically correct. But you had two passionate managers last night.
Do you know, and obviously the game was on TV last night, but it's a shame there's not been that hub for Scottish football on TV like we've talked about a few times, you know, when you used to have Setanta Sports and stuff where a lot of games are on because, all right, I mean, yeah, Rangers are running away with it, but it's a great time for eyes to be on Scottish football, you know what I mean? And
throughout the whole league, there's a lot of good players in there. There's a lot of good managers. So Scottish football's definitely on its way up. Like,
yeah, I think so too. And we've talked about this with us making the Euros and that. Like, there's a real opportunity now for Scotland to go on and push on with it. And look, whether people, you know, obviously Celtic fans aren't going to agree, but you know, someone like Steven Gerrard, like Brendan Rodgers did for Celtic, brings more eyes to the league, so it's better for the league.
For Scottish football next year, I hope Celtic get in a big name, a big personality, somebody like Gerrard.
Absolutely.
Like I want it to be competitive. Like now the most important season Rangers has done. Like we're stopping 10. I don't obviously want to win next season, but I want a proper competitive league where you're tuning in the end of March thinking, bloody hell, this is a title decider. Or
I
lost that up until Europe the last couple of weeks. Like you're watching Rangers games, you're like, it doesn't really matter. Like that excitement's gone. But you see that European game, that was nailed. Like that was on the edge of your seat. Rangers were back, and then I hope Celtic do that next season and make some more exciting games. Do you with fans as well?
Do you think this is like my point of view? And then you guys can say what you think about it. But, you know, I feel like everyone's kind of looking at Rangers on the European stage and thinking, like, we don't really want to play them, which is incredible because if you look at the quality of some of the teams in there, you know, United, Spurs, all those guys, on paper, you'd be like, right, fucking wages are miles different. Players, you got Gareth Bale, Harry Kane. Like, you know what I mean? Let's be honest, the players aren't the same. However, with how Gerrard's got that team going, and the run of form you're on, and the fact that the league is wrapped up, like you can focus, you can purely focus on that. And I think that Rangers will be a bit of a problem for some teams.
Gerrard said it in his interview last night. He said him getting sent off at half time almost seemed to galvanise the boys again. It was like, right, here we go again. Let's get us together. I think it was last season in Europe. One of the first games were away at Legia Warsaw, I think it was. Went down to 9 men for like 25-30 minutes, end up winning that game, and then that was like the first you saw Gerrard's galvanized that team. It almost seems like, come on, throw at us. We're 11 guys playing for 11 people. We'll take on anyone. Don't get wrong, there will come a time where we get totally outclassed, but it just seems like no matter what happens, I'm thinking this team's got so much fight in it, so much togetherness, and that's come purely for one man, and that is Gerrard. Like there's just 11 guys playing for him no matter what seems to happen, which when I went to that St John's game, we went 1-0 down, the team just crumbled. They're looking around, blaming each other and stuff, but that just doesn't happen anymore. That's purely come from.
I want Rangers to get through, United to get through. Rangers United next round. Stevie goes to Old Trafford and knock Man United out.
Singing Sweet Caroline at Old Trafford.
Singing Sweet Caroline, that'd be right. What do you think, Mathew? Like, what do you think, Mathew, from in Europe? Do you think could you see them doing something? Or I mean, they already are. I mean, where they've got to now is decent. They're against a team that just knocked Leicester out, so it's not going to be an easy feat. But
I think they can. I think the fact that the league's kind of already wrapped up as well, it allows them to focus on it can allow them to focus on it. If you think like if the league was really tight, right, they're surely going to be like, it's got to be the league first. Would you not? Would you say Scotty is a Rangers
Oh
fan?
yeah, especially
I mean,
when we got to this stage, 100%.
I think that huge advantage of them, being however many points are ahead, I think is huge for them, and I can see them causing damage in Europe. This next game, though, I think
it's slippery banana, isn't it?
It's a massive test for them. It's a massive test.
Yeah. Josh, you said you watched the end of that game, and some technically very good players in Slavia, which can
I did.
totally hurt us. Yeah.
I watched the end of that game, and I thought,
well, who's the number 9? Isn't that you?
I thought they looked. It's one of those we don't get to see that any of those teams play. So you're like, all right, well, Leicester. I see Leicester all the time and decent. And again, I only watched the last 15 minutes, but Slavia looked decent. They moved the ball around quickly. They look like they're dangerous. I mean, I could have this stat wrong.
It's both.
What do you mean? It's put 2 legs, mate.
No, I'm saying, are they home first?
No, they're away first, I think.
Yeah.
But is it like away as in like actually away at their stadium?
Josh, where does Slavia Prague play?
Where does Slavia Prague play? I said that the other day. I was like, do they play?
As far as I know, you're allowed to go there. I don't actually know.
Depends if it's on the red list or not, mate. I'm not too sure. But Rangers played at Ibrox in the second leg in the last game. So.
Okay.
It's to do with where that team's from, though. If their government lets them travel. But
yeah, what you say?
What were you gonna say there?
I was gonna say I can't mind now, mate. I've gone.
You seen that stat?
Question for you boys? So Rangers right now looking at the season. Also, the league's going to get wrapped up next couple of weeks. Europa League's a huge focus, but how much more? What do you value more? Getting through. So let's be honest, we're probably not going to win Europa League with the teams that are left. We might get through another couple of rounds, but we're not going to win it. Yeah, what would you rather have? Undefeated season, Invincibles, or rest a few players towards the end of the season and go for it in Europe? What would you look back like? What sound one?
Well, it's a good. Matthew, go on. You answer first. I'll answer second.
So what's the question? So
right now, Rangers, right? So the league's pretty much bar disaster. The league's over. So would you rather us push for it in Europe and sort of rest a few players? So say we play on a Thursday, then rest players on a Sunday, play a weekend team on Sunday, and then go for it in Europe, but we might get beat and lose the undefeated season. Would you rather us just go for it, try and win every single game?
Surely it's got to be go for it in Europe.
Yeah.
It's got to be because you can slip up and you can slip up in the league and it's not going to be a big deal. You know what I mean?
But
I mean, Scotty last season
always get talked about as being that. Imagine if Gerrard goes invincible and stops 10 in the same season. It's like
no, I get it. I mean,
I personally would rather go for it in Europe and play from this team, and if we have to rest a couple of players, so be it. Try and win the game. But,
I mean, me and Mathew in the same situation last season with Liverpool, right, where the league was pretty much done by relatively the same point last season. Obviously, before COVID hit, obviously we got knocked out in the Champ League, and then there was the whole Invincible thing, which I think we got beat. Yeah, it was around about that time we played Atletico where we lost to Watford. But I don't know. Looking back now, like, would it have been great if we went undefeated? Yeah, but I mean, we won the league by a mile in the end. I mean, what can anyone say? I mean, it's a good feat, but now I think 100% you go for Europe, also because of the money it brings in for you the further you go too, right?
And coefficient
for Scotland, it's a huge benefit for the whole of the Scottish League if Rangers go ahead and get to the fucking quarterfinal or something. By the way, what if you can get past Slavia Prague? When you hit that stage, I think it's anyone's fucking game, man.
I think that was such a tricky fixture because I think they're a lot better than what people think. But if you can get through that, you're there, aren't you? So why not?
Yeah, such a tough fixture, like.
Yeah. It is. My last question to you, Scotty. Don't mean to be putting you on the spot. I don't know if you do or you don't know, but I read a lot on Liverpool in terms of the now is great, but I see what Liverpool are doing from a point of view of, signing people like Harvey Elliott and all these young kids, and you can tell they're planning for the future for when Klopp leaves and all that type of stuff. Do you hear and see Rangers doing a lot of the same stuff, or is a lot of the focus on the here and now?
When the last couple of seasons, 100% is way more in the future. I think they got a couple of really smart people in there. Gerrard, Beale, and Ross Wilson, the director of football. I think he seems really, really smart. I think he's there for the long term. Whether a manager is there or not, I think the people behind the scenes can see this being a 5-10 year project.
Yeah.
And who knows where Gerrard could go? Surely he's going to go to Liverpool at some point, but if going the way he's going, like, developing players, doing well in Europe, I mean, why would you turn that? He's still so young as terms of a manager. Why, like, unbelievable experience for him. He's learning so much, playing 50 games a season, playing in Europe, playing cups. Depends on how long Gerrard stays, but I think the people behind the scenes doing the signings of players are thinking long term. And then Rangers finally have an identity. They have a style of play. They know what players they want. You've seen the people like signing Scott Wright. They already know who to replace.
Good.
I mean, as we talked about in the podcast before, one player in, one player out. He seems like he's got a player for every position.
Yeah.
You like, obviously, I mean, prime example, Tavernier going out injured. Mr. Irreplaceable, bringing Nathan Patterson and the boys like
scores of it after going out getting
world
pissed.
beater,
Going out getting pissed.
Doing it on a bevy as well.
Yeah. How old is he?
19.
Is it?
Sorry, made a mistake. But made a mistake. He would take his punishment and move on. By the way, Fulham have just equalised.
Have it?
Yeah. It is some of the worst defending from Sanchez I've ever seen. He's tried to clear the ball, not kicked it more than 5 yards off a Fulham player, and they've scored. It was horrendous. Sorry, but yeah, no, it's interesting, Scotty. I just, I would feel like Gerrard would be someone that would do that and would want that. And I think I sent you guys that video the other week of Peter Lovenkrands, Chris Boyd, and someone else chatting on Sky Sports. And Peter Lovenkrands said that one thing that's been huge, which he noticed from getting to just go visit Ibrox, was that the nutrition side of things at Rangers is worlds above, what he knows a lot of Scottish teams to be doing from what Gerrard's experienced in England. Do you know what I mean?
Back in the day, Paul Le Guen banned the Monster Munch in the changing room because Chris Boyd was eating Monster Munch at training.
And I think
banging in 30 goals a season, by the way. But
I know. I think Fulham goal's been disallowed. Don't know why. I think that who scored?
Richarlison.
And he didn't assist there, no?
So Digney's been put off the corners because Sigurdsson's now on, and Sigurdsson swept in a corner right in his fucking that Barnett of his.
That's no good for the fantasy, man. That's no good. But I just to finish off on that point, I think that's something I'm hoping to, through this podcast, learn a bit more about. But I think that's what Scottish football needs to do, right? Is push themselves towards that side of things. It's our culture to kind of like, it's acceptable for the boys to be out getting pinted and that, which is fine. It creates a different sport. But
so there's a Stephen Fletcher did a podcast, I think the first one he did with Cy Ferry, and he talked about that. He said he was only 18, 19 coming through at Hibs, and that's when Collins was the manager. He said Collins was, what Collins like, preaching it every single day, nutrition, lifestyle, eat, sleep, breathe, football. If you want to be a footballer, this is what you got to do. And all the players, they're like, get that to fuck that. We live in Scotland, that's not it. But he said in that podcast, he said, I think Fletcher's now like 32, so he's in the shape of his life. He's finally understood what it means to be a proper footballer. But I think 100%, people like Gerrard being in Scottish football can only do good things for the players going forward. Sure.
Yeah, I think so. I think
just bringing that professionalism, isn't it?
I think that's where Scottish football needs to look to go then. Anything else you want to say, mate, about the mighty fucking Gerrards before we move on to the English side of things?
Going forward, maybe the only thing is a couple of players, maybe like the likes of, if McGregor finally retires, Steve Davis. It's a couple of big guys that are really tough to replace. So it'll be interesting to see how Gerrard does that.
That's a good.
But I think what he's good at is bringing in a player and developing them. But I mean, if we didn't have McGregor this season, it's a totally different league. So
massive man.
He'll eventually hang up his gloves and.
Experience is huge. You need a good mix of experience and young, right? It's good.
Yeah. So, but
it's a good mix, mate. No, it's look. Unfortunately, for other Scottish fans, it's a great time to be a Rangers fan, and it's looking positive for the future.
A wee bit of Sweet Caroline on, boys.
Wee bit of Sweet Caroline. Right. We'll get back into the English side of things then. Obviously, we did a few weeks back. We did that prediction with Greggy and Leon on the points that we thought the current top 5 at the time were going to get, and we'll go through that in a second. But Mathew, I'll start with you on this question to get us rolling the English game. Since the last time we did this, how do you think? How's the league been? How's it looking like it's shaping up for you? In terms of the top 4, the top of the table, the bottom of the table, just kind of an overall view on what you think in the last kind of 4 or 5 weeks.
I knew that Man City would do what Man City are doing. I think we all called that, didn't we?
Yep. I think so. We'll get to that in a sec. Once
I
I've done
think-
my maths.
I think in terms of the bottom of the table, I don't know. Fulham. I don't know. I don't think we should write Fulham off just yet. I think we might have. A lot of us did write Fulham off, but I don't know. Like, if you look at Brighton and Newcastle, who are right down there, and then you look at where Fulham are right now, there's been way more progression with Fulham than there has in the past 5 weeks than I've with Newcastle and Brighton. So
Agreed.
I think Newcastle and Brighton should really be concerned. And Fulham have just got a chance. There's something about them right now. The battle for top 4 is class, to be fair. It's really, really good.
It's the most interesting part.
I think, the league, obviously Man City basically won it. Bottom of the league, it's going to be that battle between Fulham, Newcastle, Brighton, maybe a few more. And, mate, Kate your pick, man, who's going to finish in the top 4. It's really interesting, to be fair. I don't really remember it being at this type of the top 4. Maybe with one or two teams, it's been but this time it's there's loads of teams. So how many games left? 11 now.
Yeah, about 11.
So, fairly entertaining. I think the top 4 is definitely been the most entertaining bit about it, I think.
What about you, Scotty?
I think Pep Guardiola has sucked the life out of English football. He has just ruined it for everyone watching. He's just played unbelievable football, and you said it last night, Josh, but Man United are just missing that spark, and I think Guardiola has sucked that spark out of Solskjaer.
Yeah, United are missing that massively.
Yeah, and people see that, and they say they've got that fear factor back, where other teams are just like, if we don't win this game, we're done, and then the pressure piles on. And I think he's just ruined. As Mathew said, the race for top 4 could be cool, but
because when we last talked, City were in the midst of starting to put this together. It's been amazing for me personally to see how he has kind of rejuvenated that team, like you said about United. Like City had lost their spark a little bit, and I think that more so in the modern game that happens, after 2-3 years. Like you really need to change things up, right? And whether it could be quite a small thing, could be a signing, it could be anything. Well, maybe that's always been the case, I guess. But City, I've been really impressed with how Pep's done it. Talking about Cancelo playing as that right back who is not a right back. He tucks in as a second midfielder to get the ball. Zinchenko does the same and he plays on the left, but then you can play Walker, who can also tuck in, but can also be part of a back 3 or be almost that modern day, right? He's found the balance of shifting it around a little bit. And obviously if you're doing fantasy, it's a nightmare for Pep Roulette, but he's found that again in them, right? He's got the hunger back in them.
Yeah.
Without doing a lot, with missing Kevin De Bruyne, with missing Sergio Aguero, Gundogan stepped up to the plate all of a sudden and is on fucking 11 goals for the season. They just got that spark and no one's been able to keep up with them. And by the way, I'm not just saying this because I support them, but thank fuck that Liverpool have Jurgen Klopp. And if Jurgen Klopp was at Man United or whatever, I'd say the same thing, because if he wasn't in the league or a manager of his caliber wasn't in the league alongside Pep, I can't see any single person getting close to them. I can't see it. He's one of the best managers of all time with an unlimited budget and all the time in the world. They're never going to sack him. When he leaves, it'll be his decision. You're never going to sack him unless it goes tits up.
See with the whole Cancelo coming and playing in midfield and shifting to a back 3 and all that. Heard people be you know what I mean? I've seen this before. I've heard of that. Oh, mate, I think that how simple is it, but how also complex is it at the same time, and how clever is it? I genuinely think that's genius.
Hey, you've just summed up Guardiola with those 3 words. It's simple, complex genius.
It's fascinating, man. What goes through his mind to I hate to say it, but I love watching City at the moment. See, tactically, it's some the best I've ever seen them. See on the ball on that, and the way the rotations are and that, it's actually frightening to watch. They're that good.
He's not afraid to change up personnel either, and change it if he wants to play a couple of wingers. He just switches up players and brings in world-class player for a world-class player.
Do you see, Mathew? I kind of mentioned this to you the other day. I don't think I've said this to you and the boys yet, Scotty, and this might be a bit controversial, and I'll try and explain it as best as I can. But
I know what you're going to say.
from everything you've just said, Matthew, I don't disagree with you. From being a coach, and I've said this on the last podcast that I did with Matty Bambrick. I was never, the tactical side of the game was never like a big thing for me. Like I didn't get super excited about it. I learned it, I liked it, I understood it, but that wasn't like what got me buzzing. I understand it. And Pep's probably the best in the last 10, 15 years at doing little things like that. And I'm not taking anything away from him. But I will be honest, I do get a little bit bored watching them because they have so much of the ball. And there are moments when they attack when they play the ball forwards and it's at lightning pace and it's 1-2 touch and they cut it back and tap it in. And I'm like, wow, that's incredible. But I don't know what you guys think about that. I do have moments where I'm a little bit bored, and I don't hold. Let me finish my point, right? I don't know if that is because there's just no fans, and that style of football is, keep the ball, the other team shift inside the side, and then you go and attack. And I'm not saying I don't understand it and I don't agree with it. To finish off this rant, basically, this is how I put it to Mathew the other night. If you said to me, Josh, you can be managing a top level team in the world, Man City, Liverpool, Man United, Bayern Munich, whoever it is, I personally wouldn't set my team up to play that way. I think I would go forwards a little quicker than he does at times, but that's just my preference. I don't know what you think about
that. I've got such a wild take on this, right?
Right.
If I'm going to compare it to a golfer. Right?
All right, go for it.
So the boy, young lad, won on Sunday at Colin Morikawa on a really tough golf course. And after about 4 holes, I stopped watching because his ball just goes so straight. Every shot's down the middle. Every shot's middle of the green. Has a couple of putts. And he just wins by 5. You're like, yeah, it's so cool because he's playing the perfect golf. But it's like, after a while, you're like, well, that's quite boring. Like, I'm just watching him hit good shot. It's like Guardiola, when he's playing that well, and he's that tactically nullified another team, you're just like, wow, this is actually, there's no excitement to the game because City are going to win 3 or 4-0. There'll be a couple of good goals, a couple of simple tap-ins. You're like, well, I want to watch an exciting back-to-back game where it's like, anything can happen.
Yeah.
But in terms of watching it, you're like, well, he's just totally nullified the other team because he's just totally pinned in there. Like,
but it's part of it maybe as well. Also because the league's kind of over, so there's no excitement. And what I mean, there's a lot of things I'd be happy to fucking go down to the pub and have a chat with folk about, which we unfortunately can't do. But because, like, I've always enjoyed watching them, and like I say, maybe it's more so of a bigger point in the season of not having fans in the ground, where I felt like football has just been missing that. Like, I'm not as buzzing to watch games as I normally am anyway, because your life isn't revolving around like going to the pub on a Saturday or whatever. So maybe it's just that. But
I think the worst thing Pep's done is made them so solid at the back as well, because there's just not going to concede, and you're just like, how many teams in the league right now can score 2 goals against Man City, 2 or 3 goals?
Yeah, none.
I don't think there's
hard to concede.
Like maybe if Leicester have a fully fit squad, they're about the only team you're worried about them going forward. Also Liverpool, but like,
no, I agree. Do you like? Going on the defensive point, and I might have said this before. You guys can stop me if I have, but there was one thing I found really interesting from the Barcelona guy that I had a chance to do stuff with in America was a lot of the stuff was on like defensive shape and like your team being high. And there was a great drill he did where like you split a very small pitch in half, and the drill is literally like you have your back 4, in line with each other, and it's working on them shifting and if someone steps where to go. So there was a lot of defensive, drills being done, as well as obviously look to go forwards and attack. So I always thought that was a big misconception on Pep's teams, because they know how to defend. And I read from his
off the ball, it's fucking unbelievable. Like an absolute machine off the ball.
And then his Bayern Munich book. Sorry, Mathew, I'll finish this and you can go. In his Bayern Munich book, he said that he learned in Germany is big for counterattacks, and he learned as a coach how to like deal with that and set up to like deal with counterattacks, which is quite an interesting read. But yeah, sorry, go ahead, Mathew.
I don't like folks say, like, I think there's like the saying of like possession is like the first form of defending, and it's like it's like so true in a way. And I just think that like the way that they play in that, like when they're keeping the ball the whole time, they're not just like keeping the ball and attacking. Like if you think about it, because they've got the ball so much, they're defending that whole time as well. And I think it's
100%.
something that people miss a lot of the time as well. But
Yeah.
I just think, like, I hate to say it, I just sit and watch them and I'm like,
Correct me if I'm wrong, but see when he did that at Barcelona, he was playing that tiki-taka and stuff. Was it not way more exciting to watch? Was that just because it's Barcelona? It's just you don't get to see him as often, but it just seemed there was just so much. I don't know.
I don't see it really as like a.
Yeah,
I don't
No,
really
exciting,
see
but
it
it's
like
just to get forward. But right now, Man City keep the ball for 80 minutes and just pass it round and round. It's unbelievable.
I think it's a
football,
different style.
It's a good question. I think that's a great point, man. It's a good question. It'd be great to go. There's loads of those games on YouTube.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to go back and watch those and see if they knock it around the back as much as they do now.
Yeah.
It's a great question, Scotty. I don't know, but I agree with Mathew. I would assume he's probably evolved, right?
I was thinking that earlier. Right now, Guardiola is just a fully evolved manager. He's been in all these different leagues, so many different systems, so many different styles. He just every single game he knows.
Yeah.
Like every team he comes up against, he's played every single style of football. It's mental.
100%, man. Right? Should we? I've done the wee points thing. Should we see how close we were as a group?
Go on then.
Right. So let's start with City then, since we just talked about them. In the 6 games they had was West Brom, Sheffield United, Burnley, Liverpool, Spurs, and Arsenal. We said that they would get 16 out of a possible 18. They got 18 from 18.
Oh, did we just settle as a team what we were going to go with?
Yeah. We just agreed as a group what we were going to go with.
I think I said 18, but
you might have. As a group, we went 16. So we weren't far off on that. They're 18 out of 18, and pretty sure Greggy has been saying that for a long time. Greggy's been saying City are just going to end up, before you know it, you're going to look at the table one day and they're going to be like 15 clear, and that's exactly what's happened.
Shout out the Beans.
Shout out to the Beans, mate. United, we said they played, Sheffield United, Arsenal, Southampton, Everton, West Brom, Newcastle. We agreed as a group they would get roughly 13. They have left that with 9, which is Man United.
Oh.
We'll maybe get onto them next after we go through. Let's just talk about them now since we're on them. 9 points on that run is poor. They then obviously last night played Crystal Palace.
They had an alright start though, wasn't it? Was it the last 3 or 4 games that's when they started dropping?
Yeah, they got beat by Sheffield United, drew with Arsenal, beat Southampton 9-0, drew with Everton, drew with West Brom, beat Newcastle in that run.
That's a terrible run of fixture.
That's a bad run of form, right? That's
a crucial part of the season.
Yeah, that's kind of been what I've thought about United. Was that actually doesn't really surprise me now looking at it. Like, that's where I think they're at. Here's a question for you guys. I'm gonna get our pal James on, Scotty, next week from Cali, who's a Man United fan, to chat Man United next week if you want to come on. But so we'll ask him these questions too. But do you think, looking at this league, right? So City have ran away with it. They're first. If you then take, United, Leicester, Spurs, Liverpool, Chelsea, West Ham, right? Let's say Villa. Villa, yeah, okay, let's put Villa in the mix. Would you say out of that next list of teams, are United, in your guys' opinion, the second best team?
What do you mean by team? Like in form or a group of potential squad, or
just if you
right now?
Not in form. I think he means like
just in general. Like if you look at that overall, right? Because Liverpool have obviously had their issues with their injuries and everything. But let's take that into context. With looking at the league now, Man United are second. I don't think I'm wrong on that. Yeah. Would you say, I expect them to finish second? Like, I think they're probably the second best team in the league. Or do you think that, are they going to drop a couple of spots? Like, where do you think they're at?
Right now, no. But see, back in early January, late January, February, they looked dangerous though. I was worried about them at one point, but after the last run of games, no. But I'd be more worried about playing a fully fit Leicester, I think.
Yeah.
Than United, but that squad of players United got there's a lot of potential there to be a very, very good team if they find that so-called spark.
I think I'd probably say no, just like because surely when you take that question into consideration, you have to look at the manager as well. And
100%.
Tactically, I don't think, like, I watched the Palace game last night. I know they're in second, right, and they're pushing, and they're obviously they're trying to push City for first. They're still in that, surely. They're the closest to them.
Mate, they're about 16 points behind them, and they play them for the weekend. They're done.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, in terms of like they're pushing for second and to stay second, then let's say.
They're 14 points. Sorry, they're 14 points behind them, and they play each other on Sunday.
So I'm not meant pushing for staying second, right? I looked at them playing. I looked at them playing Mathew and Fred last night, and I'm like, why didn't you play McTominay when McTominay clearly is the one that pushes for a goal all the time? He gets in the box. He's way more attacking than either one. I just think that you must regret that decision, and I think is where he struggles.
He brought McTominay on quite early, did he not? He brought him off in the second half.
Mathew, I agree with you. Like this is I think we've said this before about United on here, and it'll be good to ask James his thoughts on this. Like you're playing Palace, who've been absolutely dreadful. You're second in the league. They're down there, and don't get me wrong, right? Every team's dangerous in the Prem. Anyone can beat anyone. I get that, but I agree with you. Like, maybe they're injured. Maybe everyone's going to listen to this and be like, you're an idiot, they're injured. But like, I'm playing one holding midfielder, and then I'm playing Bruno and Van de Beek behind the fucking front three in that game. Because what Palace, all right, they might try and hit you on the break, fair enough. But surely you can handle it.
I think Solskjaer's just shat it in so many situations. What was the game that they absolutely just totally bunkered in? And even against us. Remember when they played Liverpool?
Yeah.
Harry
Kane. Oh, what a save, man! What a save! How's he not scored? Sorry, Mathew. Big on fantasy, folks. Got triple captain.
Tottenham.
Lack of professionalism from the host.
What was I saying? So see when they played Liverpool and we were absolute fucking playing our B team, right? They remember how they came and they sat in and didn't go for it.
Yeah.
There's that situation. There was also a situation against City. I think it was Chelsea at the weekend. They don't really have that bite and that urge, and I think that's what they're missing. And I can't get my head around why he's gone and played Fred and Matic. And I understand that Palace are going to sit and play on the counter, and it's for help in those areas of the pitch. And I know they're up against Benteke, and they need to win that second ball constantly against Benteke.
There's no Zaha in that Palace team either. Having it. I reckon if Man United had Brendan Rodgers, that's a totally different. If he have a well-drilled manager and well-coached squad, that Man United team's way better under Brendan Rodgers than it is under Solskjaer.
Because this
equally on the other foot, if Solskjaer goes to Leicester, they're crumbling.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what Man United fans think, right? Because I feel like this has been what it had. Like this is what keeps happening with Solskjaer is they go on these decent little runs, and everyone's like, "Oh fuck!" If they add a player or two, blah blah blah, they're up there, and then all of a sudden it just dips again. Like I feel like this is the third time this has happened in his run. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I think we need to mention the absence of Paul Pogba is huge as well. By the way, since they've lost him, I'd love to see what the results are. They've missed. I think Pogba has a massive effect on Bruno Fernandes, and I watched Fernandes in that Palace game. He was so lethargic and everything, but I think Pogba totally complements Fernandes when they play together, and I think Pogba brings a total different dimension as well in the middle of the park, which they were missing. So I think we need to take that into consideration as well. But
your job as a manager is to find in a new way, though.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. But you can't just pick up a missing Pogba. Like if to be a top manager, you got to build because you're not going to have a fully fit 11. You're not going to have your fully fit 11 for the season. You know what it's like. So.
Yeah.
Nah, it's interesting, eh? Like I say, we'll move on from United because I want to kind of talk a lot about that with James next week. But yeah, they've been up and down. I can see them shifting it here and really being in a battle towards the end. I think top four is going to be mental, man, because I don't know.
It's going to be mad.
We didn't even put fucking Chelsea. Chelsea weren't even in the top 5 at that point now. So we'll get onto them. But we didn't even. I think Chelsea look like they're going to be more consistent at the moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'll see tonight. Obviously, they play Liverpool. But anyway, we'll move on from United. We're 9 points. They got 9 points. We thought 13. 9's relatively poor from that. Title race with City getting a full 18 out of 18. Speaking of Rodgers and Leicester, they had Everton, Leeds, Fulham, Wolves, Liverpool, Villa in the run of games. We said they would get 10 points. They got 9 from it. So
with a lot of injuries.
We're all right at this. With a lot of injuries. In that mix, you've got the 3-1 win against Liverpool. You've beaten Villa. They got beat by Leeds, which is probably actually pretty disappointing. Drew with Everton, drew with Wolves. So that's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Are they injuries? This is a bit harsh to say because they are struggling with injuries, but are they going to do what seems to happen to Brendan Rodgers at this time of the season? Are they just going to drop off and miss out?
With that depleted squad, 100%. But with their fully fit 11, 12, 13 players, they're a dangerous team.
Yeah, agreed.
And you saw when they scored one against Liverpool, they looked unbelievable. They're going forward. They've got
I don't know.
team.
What do you think, Matthew?
I don't know. It's tough. Like, I don't know why Brendan Rodgers' team seems. I don't know why his team seems to do it, but I will say though, they've coped well with injuries so far.
Yeah.
I remember when we were talking once, and I forgot who some of the main players were injured. Like Fofana's come in, he's made them class. There's no reason to say that now. Perez is going to come in for Barnes and he performs.
Yeah, but Barnes, Maddison, Justin all out at the minute, are they not?
It's usually what it is.
And not a fully fit Vardy.
Three of their best players.
Yeah.
Three
key players. Maddison and Barnes are unbelievable for them in midfield.
Right and left back situation seems to be a bit of a... No!
Justin's a difficult one to play.
I mean, I just, like you say, injuries is a shame because it's not necessarily going to be a fair reflection, but this is a pattern that's been in Brendan Rodgers' since he's been at Liverpool and since he's been at Leicester, is that I think they've actually done it for longer this season than I can remember them doing it for, but they always drop off. I don't know what the stat was. I was in the Sky Sports News today and they were talking about this, and they had a mental stat last season. The last 10 games, like they don't even know if they fucking won a game. I mean,
how long was Barnes out for?
6 weeks or something.
Stretch it off, yeah.
So he's out. He's gonna miss in 6 weeks. You'd think that's close to half the games that are left, right? That's close to half the games, but I don't know. They'll be interesting. They've got quite a thin squad, right? They don't have the money that everybody else has. We've talked about this. They don't have the stature of a club. They're not going to sign. They're not going to be able to compete to sign Haaland to improve, when Vardy retires. Like, they're just not in that mix, you know what I mean? So it's a real tough one for them to keep going against all these teams that are able to attract these players and spend this money.
Agreed.
It's an interesting one. Next.
Yeah, do you know what it is? I think Brendan Rodgers has got one eye on his summer holidays. Just thinking about that fake tan again.
He does love that.
That's what happens towards the end of the season.
He's going back to the Celtic job, you not heard?
He's off to get his fresh veneers and his fake tan in Glasgow.
I heard that. That's what I heard. He's coming back. He's coming back to take it off Stevie. Spurs who are playing right now, currently winning 1-0, 89th minute. Harry Kane has done shite all for me. They played Liverpool, Brighton, Chelsea, West Brom City, and West Ham in the 6. They got 3 points out of that. They only beat West Brom. They got beat by Liverpool, beat by Brighton, beat by Chelsea, beat by City, beat by West Ham.
Wow.
That's a poor run.
Wow.
That is poor. We
said, what did we say they'd get?
We said they would get 12 points. They got 3. Wow. And by the way, they're still, especially after they win right now, they're very much in the race for top 4, which shows you how mental the league's been. But that is in 6 games. 6 games, you've got 3 points out of 18. That's horrendous.
So inconsistent.
What I like the team that they started tonight. I like the balance. I was speaking to Mathew about it, Scotty. It sounds obvious, but yeah, I think Bale's playing a little bit more, had an incredible game in the last game. Don't know if he's done too much tonight. I haven't really watched it to be fair on him, to be honest. I don't actually think he's still on the pitch anymore. I think he got subbed for Lamella, but they played, Kane, Son, Bale, and then Dele Alli, which I was watching and I quite like. I think that looks balanced with Højbjerg in the middle with Sissoko. It's a good balanced team. If I was Mourinho, I'd go forward with that. I like the balance of that.
Yeah, mate, West Brom just scored. Yes, he's offside. Yes.
He's off. Yes. Get Digne the clean sheet.
Or is it handball?
Get Digne the clean sheet, man. But Spurs, do you, I would just kind of put it simply to you. Can you see, are Spurs going to pick up enough points to get in the Champions League spots?
I think so, yeah.
Do you think they'll get in the top 4?
Nah.
I don't know.
Because if you go right now, right,
Hey,
City,
it's random. It's such a random team. Something it's like some games are unreal, and the next day it's just so bad.
I mean, even that run of form just there, right? You got beat by, all right, Liverpool, yeah. Brighton, you got beat by, Brighton, all right, but you should be beaten. Chelsea, you get beat by. City, you get beat by. I mean, in fairness, Liverpool, Chelsea, City, West Ham, 4 of those 6 aren't easy games. But
It
you've
seems
got
like
to be looking.
there's some Spurs games you watch for the first 10 minutes, and you're like, I know this is going to be 0-0 or 1-0, or it's just not happening tonight.
Yeah,
it's weird.
They looked like they'd lost. We said like they looked like they lost a bit of bounce to them, didn't they?
Yeah.
They kind of somewhat got it back.
They only missed
I don't understand.
Kane for a couple of games, didn't they?
I don't understand his team selection sometimes though. Like, why is he dropping Reguilon after playing? He always does. He's done this with him every time. Reguilon plays well, gets an assist or whatever. Then he drops
why has he brought in Dele Alli tonight as well?
Yeah, it's interesting, and a lot of the folk that I've seen talk about it are saying that the issue is like Ali's not really played a lot, so he's not fit. Like, and there's not a lot of games left. It's probably going to take you 10 games to get up to game speed. By the time he's got up to it, the season's over. So he's not really utilized. He's not utilized like his squad well. You know what I'm trying to say? I don't know if you guys.
I think his team selections have been quite strange to me. Sometimes I'm like, doesn't know who his best right back is. Doesn't know who his best left back is.
Just stick with team and go with it. Yeah.
This might sound quite harsh, and I'll try and put it in I'll try and put it in a nice way, because I like the guy, and he was amazing growing up as a manager. But is Mourinho caught in between doing what he wants to do and doing what people think he should do for the modern game? Right. This is kind of a 2-barrel question I'm kind of putting. And also, do you see him winning a league again? Whether it still be at Spurs, I'm talking about if he goes somewhere else. Like, do you guys think Mourinho has it in him to still be that guy and win a league title?
I don't know. I keep questioning it. Like, just to go off your point there, I think he's stuck between like what now modern day football is and what he wants it to be and thinks it should be. And with the Reguilon choice, a perfect example. What do fullbacks do these days? Fullbacks are knowing they're almost like wingers, crosses, assists.
Whereas Mourinho does is defend.
He's gone and played Reguilon in that, and Reguilon he's a perfect example of that. He's classic going forward. Defensively, maybe not as strong, but he goes in and plays a left back in Davies that he knows will be defensively stronger, but then you lose. You're attacking. Left back, which I don't. Sometimes I'm like, what? I don't know what's going on there.
If you have like a Kane, Son, Bale, and Ali up front, get the ball up as quickly as possible. Get winging balls in there. You don't defend with that up front.
Yeah,
it's like Solskjaer element. They're capable of going and just battering a team 3-0 after half an hour, get the job done, in and out. But
I know I think that's what I actually just asked. That'd be a really good fucking debate. Like,
great theory on Gareth Bale's upturning form.
Go on, mate.
So lighter nights, so he's getting out for a few holes after training. He's in a fucking great play.
Getting some fucking holes in.
just like Greg, he's just looking forward to 4 o'clock. Get out there on the golf course, and he's in a lot of better mood.
It's interesting, because like we talked about with AJ and that, and you saw it in the last game they played. Like, he's still got something in him. I mean, you don't just lose that, but. The question is he under the right manager? Is he in the right team? Does he still have it in him to do it week in, week out? Some players peak at certain points and never hit that form again. And especially with what his game was like raw fucking pace and like just run and get at you. And you lose that the older you get. Everyone.
And he's also got 19 gazillion pounds in his bank.
Yeah.
Back a bit.
It's definitely more difficult.
If you're waking up and it's raining outside and you've got that much money in the bank, can't be arsed today, boys.
Right, we'll do Chelsea and Liverpool, and then we'll wrap it up so we can get away for the kickoff of the game. What do you want to do, Mathew? Do you want to do Chelsea first or Liverpool first? What do you want to finish on?
Wait, what's your question?
Do you want to talk about Chelsea first or Liverpool first? They're the last 2 teams we're going to talk about. Do you want to finish on?
Chelsea.
Chelsea first.
Yeah.
Okay, Chelsea first. So. We obviously the last time we did this, I think Big Frank was still in charge, or maybe he just got sacked and Tuchel came in because we had Liam on. What have you seen? Like what have you seen so far, Mathew, with Tuchel coming in? Then what have you seen?
I think I get excited to watch Chelsea as well. Tactically, I'm like, what the fuck is happening here? Can we just say, to have the balls to come in and drop Ben Chilwell
Yeah.
like he has,
An
fair
England
play to the guy,
international.
because
Great for fantasy too, with Blackie.
Yeah.
you must be in that change room thinking like, I'm maths, no matter who I am.
Yeah, I am.
By the way,
sorry.
Ben Chilwell is starting for them tonight, just so you know.
Really? See,
Yeah, he is, yeah.
what? Like, you don't know what you're going to get. I remember when I first seen it, and I was like, right, Alonso's played well, and I guess it's one of those situations, if you play well, you just keep playing. Keeps just like chopping and changing it. I mean, obviously means they play Alonso, but I'm like, fair play to him. The whole keeper situation as well.
Yeah,
I know
Yep.
random.
Yep.
and Kerpon gave him a shot. Like, fair play to him. Like, he's obviously just fucking going for it. Like, all guns blazing, man. But like, tactically watching them, I love watching them. Like, they're set up in their formation, off the ball, on the ball. The way, like, triangle back three. It's not like a flat back three like main. It's like a wee like triangle back three. You've never really seen it before, to be honest. Like, and I think getting the best out of Werner and Mason Mount and playing as like kind of just off Giroud and getting the width from Hudson-Odoi is another one.
Mm-hmm.
Who
Yep, keeps playing him. He's not playing tonight. He's going with Reece James there.
Really?
Yeah, he's going with Reece James and that
Probably
right wing
maybe
back.
try and deal with Manny a little more. But now, like, I think he's totally come in, rejuvenated Chelsea. This is the thing. Like, I watch it, right, and I'm like, I can see what he's trying to do.
Right, it's the most important thing.
I can see the shape. I can see the formation. I can see exactly when they're off the ball, on the ball. And now you look back at it and you kind of, we talked about this. We look at the Lampard games and we're kind of like, what are they doing right now? Chelsea and the Lampard, like, they're just playing in a 4-3-3. Sometimes it's Kovacic, sometimes and we're just kind of like,
yeah, agreed.
I think it's huge, and surely next season they're going to be up there. Surely they're going to absolutely.
Yeah. He came out today, said they could emulate City's run of form. Like Tommy Tuchel.
Interesting.
He came out and said that.
I say it might have been clickbait, but said he can replicate City's run or something.
Do you? I think you, I think you hit the nail on the head, Mathew. Right away in game one, I could already see what his identity he was trying to put on the team. Game one, and Lampard.
Only after like 2 days of training or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, man. Lampard had a long time, and that was something that this season he just didn't look like he could get on the team for whatever reason. Lack of experience, just wrong place, wrong time. I don't know what it is. I hope Lampard goes on and has a good career as a manager. But Tuchel's came in, man, and yeah, I agree with you. We play them in 15 minutes, and I know it's going to be a decent game, and I'm more worried about playing them under him right now than I ever was under Lampard, right?
Yeah.
So it's amazing how a manager can come in and do that so quickly. I think that's a really good thing for him. And the question will be, can he keep it up? Like you said, Scotty said he could emulate that run of Cities. Not sure about that, but what are you in the same boat, Scotty? Have you noticed the same?
Yeah, but brought in a very experienced tactical manager. As you say, if you're a Lampard, if you're Ivanovic, and you say to Lampard, right, show me what you've done in the year or whatever you've been here, you couldn't put it together. Like, this is the style, this is who I'm trying to play, this is what I'm trying to do to teams. Whereas Tuchel, after one game, I think on the Chilwell play, he's probably come in. He's real defensive, isn't it? All the games been pretty tight, low scoring affairs. So he's gone in with experienced defenders he knows like to defend. And it's, as you say, Mathew said, if they have a good game, it's hard to drop somebody if they played well. And if he doesn't play Chilwell the first game, it's hard for Chilwell to break in. But you must have seen Chilwell in training now and realised how good he is if he's not getting a run of games. But like the first lineup he went with was quite experienced, quite old school, quite defensive, hard to beat, and then it was for him. So
has he gone with Werner Mount Ziyech tonight?
Yeah, he has. Yeah, he's gone Werner Mount Ziyech. I
wonder if he'll sit a little. I don't.
It'll be interesting. Liverpool got Fabinho at the back again, and Alisson's in goal, which is good. The team's looking a little better. Fabinho and Kabak at the back. Well, Chelsea weren't in the top 5 when we did the points. We don't have a points on them, so we'll finish on Liverpool so we can get away for the game. Liverpool played Spurs, West Ham, Brighton, City, Leicester, Everton. We said they would get 8 points out of that. They got 6. They beat Spurs, they beat West Ham, and lost to Brighton, lost to City, lost to Leicester, lost to Everton. It's been a fucking shambles of a season for many, many, many reasons. I don't really want to get into. I've written a wee blog. I'm gonna try and find out how to get a wee link to it and post it on the Insta page about this. But it's been a crazy season for Liverpool. It's been a strange season. What do you think about it all, Mathew, and that kind of run of 6 games since we last spoke to now? Shite. Silence says shite.
I don't really know. I don't really know what to say about it. Like I generally don't know what to say about it. It's just where we're at right now. We're just quite stale and just like I have no idea who's gonna turn up, who's gonna do what. Like I actually don't have a lot to say about it. I generally don't know what to say about that. Like
I'm with you.
Generally do not know.
Tonight seems like a big game for both teams, but from a Liverpool point of view, it seems like if we could get a win tonight with Fabinho back, Jota looking like he's back, Alisson, unfortunately not getting to go to Brazil for his dad's funeral, so he'll be there playing in goal still. It feels like if we could get a win and leap over Chelsea, then you could see maybe a bit of momentum coming back. The squad's getting a bit stronger, you know what I mean?
I guess I'm just waiting for us to like kick into gear again, I guess. That's why I kind of feel like that. And every game I'm like, right, here we go. And then we kind of scrape against Sheffield United. And I'm like, here we go. And we get beat. Like I'm just kind of like, I'm just waiting for us to like, just to click again. I don't know when it's going to happen.
What have your thoughts been on Curtis Jones?
Just the next Steven Gerrard.
Just hot and cold. Like I was saying this the other night. Like I think the reason I think Curtis Jones has stuck out is there's suddenly not as much pressure on everyone. And because when you're challenging for the league and that, right, it's a whole different story. And I think the more experienced players handle that better and they typically tend to play better. But I think now that no older person right now, experienced players taking responsibility for what's happening. And it just seems like, I think that gives the youngster like Curtis Jones a boost. And he's like, wait a minute, it's there for the taking. And I think
Curtis Jones will be world class one day.
You've lost all your leaders. Like what I think is really big that we will never know as fans, but you hear stories about like Stevie. You would expect Gerrard to have been the captain that was constantly talking and going at people. When you listen to him talk about it in Carragher talk, he wasn't. He was actually quite quiet and he led by example on the pitch through his performance, and Carragher was the chatty one, right? So, when you say Liverpool have lost a leader, I bet people go, wow, you've got Salah, Firmino, Mane, and it's but maybe I don't think they're the characters to be those leaders. You know what I mean? Like Henderson is that guy, obviously. I think Fabinho's one of those guys. Clearly Virgil van Dijk is. You've lost not just the quality on the pitch, but you've lost that leadership in the dressing room that keeps everyone together. And by the way, it's not an excuse. People then need to step up. I want to see people step up. I have, said that every week that people need to step up. And I think Curtis Jones, as a Scouse lad, is looking to try and do that. And being, 20 years old, he's going to be inconsistent. He's going to have some good games, some bad games. I don't expect him to be the guy to step up and lead at 20, right?
Players like Shaqiri and that, they're the ones that step up, and they've been absolutely terrible. Right?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I'm not going to get into it because I could go on about it for ages about those guys and how Klopp builds his team, and we'll maybe do it at the end of the season for a good chat. But yeah, those guys just to me are like they're not going to be guys that are going to step up, and like I don't know. It's been a strange season. A lot of shit things for everybody. I mean, obviously the whole thing with Klopp and his mum, Alisson and his dad. I mean, at a time when the team is doing bad, it's like the squad must just be at like rock bottom, and they kind of need to get going. Like
the relationship's going to be a bit stale. You've been going out for each other for too long. You just need a wee summer holiday, freshen things back up, bit of excitement back in the bedroom.
Can't even go on a fucking holiday.
Come back.
Fucking hell.
Summer break. You seen there's flashes in the West Ham game, some of the games. Liverpool, they haven't lost it. Like it's still there.
Liverpool will be back up there challenging for the league title again next season, no doubt. I expect probably Ronaldo is not signing the deal now. I don't see why he would. He's going to go, which means we're going to have to replace him with someone, right? I can see Liverpool adding one or two players to the ranks again. and I can see it probably being between them and City. Watch this, Liverpool will fucking come ninth or something. But even if we don't finish in the top 4 of the season, it wouldn't be good. But I'm not overly concerned. I think I'm at the point now where it's like, can we squeeze into 3rd or 4th? I don't really give a shit, and just fucking put the season behind us and get going again and get everyone fit. It's hit that point, eh?
The Champions League, to be fair.
I was still in the Champions League. If people's, Fabinho's back, Jota comes back, with Klopp as your manager, you never know, right? You never know. But I think the Champions League should just be a fucking City Bayern final.
I'll see you in Europa League next year, boys. Stevie versus Klopp.
Imagine that, man. Fuck's sake. I couldn't take it if Man United got in the Champions League and we didn't. But who knows? Right, boys. I want to finish this with you quickly. Because I've asked the last few people that have been on, and I don't think I've asked you guys this, but who wants to go first? The 2 questions been asked. Who would like to go first?
I'll go first.
All right, Scotty. 2 questions, just as quickly as you can. Who is your favorite player of all time, and also who's the best player you've ever seen live?
Favorite player of all time, the Buffalo Soldier, Alfredo Morelos. Without any shadow of a doubt, my favorite player.
Is he actually?
100%.
No, he's.
Mate, there's one player that makes me excited, gets me emotional.
Alfredo.
I feel like I'll be on a journey with him. Alfredo. Best player I've seen live, Super John McGinn.
Oh, interesting. Why McGinn?
Because he's the best player I've seen that have been live. He's just
every
game. I've seen a lot of games with John McGinn, and he's just never had a bad game. Never been unbelievable, but he's just so solid. Just keeps his teams in it.
Solid answer.
Just so solid. And every time you come off him, you're like, McGinn was just a good player.
Just didn't fit wrong.
Yeah,
I love that.
I just kept it. Yeah.
I love that. Mathew.
So I said this on the AG one. Best player.
Oh yeah, you did. Sorry.
I've ever seen live is Jordi Alba. Seen him at the Nou Camp in a Champions League game, and he was fucking ridiculous. Hands down, the one that sticks out, I was like, holy shit. And then my favourite player ever?
Yeah, who's your favourite player of all time?
That's a tough question. I'll probably have to go Ronaldinho, maybe.
Solid choice.
I think just like totally made it an art form, and it's just ridiculously good. Messi's up there as well.
Your favourite player?
Saw him tear hearts apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I'd probably go either those two. I love watching him play, man.
Ronaldinho was fucking incredible, man.
Yeah, but it's not your favourite player ever.
Well,
yeah, he is.
He is.
He's up there.
That's his answer.
Josh, who's your favourite player?
Mate, you said Alfredo. You said Alfredo.
Yeah, because he plays for the team I love. He's been unbelievable in
Buffalo.
Europe. He's won us the league title.
I'm saying Ronaldinho, and you're going.
Mate,
You're saying
like me. He's got fucking cheeks like myself.
Say that, Range.
Mate, Alfredo was in the dressing room yesterday with his top off.
What? Yeah. Me and Alfredo look the same with our tops off. Actually.
Did you not say at the start you're not a biased? What was the quote?
Biased Rangers fan.
Yeah.
That's not being biased.
Yeah,
it's a support. It's my favourite player. A genuine answer would be Barry Ferguson, but my favourite player is
Cut that bell.
I will remember Alfredo for the rest of my life.
Wow. Fair enough, Scotty. I like that, man. I like that.
He's got a better bonnet than both of you.
Yeah, I'm going for the fucking Liam Gallagher. I'm going to try and get the sideburns all the way down here and that, man. Horrendous. Need a chop. If anyone's chopping in lockdown.
Josh, who's your favourite?
Yeah, me. Oh, hands down, Steven Gerrard. Yeah. Probably will never get touched. I mean,
I'm pretty sure I said Gerrard on the last podcast.
No, you probably did. You probably did, man. Gerrard, hands down, obvious. But I'd be up for having to think about it and doing it again another time and picking someone else.
We need to do our best 11, favourite 11.
Oh yeah,
we need that next.
Definitely. I was thinking about doing that as like a wee end of season one or something. Yeah. Doing that at the end of the season, but
can Josh for the old firm, you need to do the quiz between Scotty and Connor.
When's the next old firm?
3 weeks time. It's 21st of March.
We'll get something. We'll try to get something set up for that because we didn't do it last time. I'm up for that. Sorry, I didn't get to mention this before we wrap up, but for anyone that's listening, Pedro Neto that plays for Wolves is only 20 years old. That blew my mind yesterday. I think he's one to watch. 5 goals, 5 assists so far in the league this season. Not an unbelievable return, but playing in quite a blunt Wolves side. But if you watch him, he's always involved in the game. I think he's fucking class, man.
Yeah, I do too.
Anything else you guys want to add before we wrap this up?
What do you think the score will be?
Liverpool, Chelsea, probably 0-0.
I'm going 2 on Liverpool.
I like it. Probably 0-0, but I'll go 2-0 Liverpool.
Wow.
I'm obviously not gonna go against him. What about you, Scotty?
1-0 Chelsea.
Bastard, man.
But I reckon Salah will score though.
Up the reeds. Right, that's it, boys. We'll do certainly me and Mathew, Scotty up to you if you want to do it or not.
I'm back, mate. I'm back.
We're gonna do Super
Back,
Saturday.
baby.
We'll do the scores on Saturday. If anyone wants to join us, we post that on Insta and
shout out Bolton Wanderers.
Oh yeah, shout out Bolton Wanderers.
What was his name? Jeff Smith or something?
I forget. We're gonna get Bolton top on, but of course, the second week, me and Mathew decided to go out in the garden because it's sunny and watch the scores out there. A coupon comes in, and we don't record it. But
shout out Kevin Nolan.
Shout out Kevin Nolan. Big win for the boys. There'll be a big piss up when lockdown's over, which is hopefully fucking soon. And that's it. That's fucking it, lads.
Cheers, boys.
We're done. Cheers.